Welcome, folks, to the next episode of BattleTech Simplified, Season 2. I'm Michael Schockman, I'll be your host and commentator today, and in today's episode we will be covering General Motors' quintessential zero-to-hero mech, the one that, when initially designed, was often considered a quick cash grab by General Motors, but that later on in its lifespan was much loved and refitted to the nth degree because of that love. Today we'll be covering the BlackJack. The BlackJack was designed by General Motors in the decades before the fall of the Star League, as seditious revolutionaries began popping up while the League's authority was eroding, mainly in the periphery. In 2757, to combat the increasing threats of the Separatists, the League contracted for a medium battle mech to be built with anti-insurgency and fire support capabilities in mind. General Motors' original prototype was equipped with a large fusion engine supplying increased speed and endurance and flamer weapons, but these were eventually replaced with more reliable autocannons and a smaller engine supported by jump jets. The final production model met all of the production requirements and by all accounts was designed to be regarded as a good, reliable mech. General Motors was blindsided, however, by the bad press the BlackJack received upon its introduction. Chief among its critics was the charge that the Starguard 2 armor was brittle and tended to fall off, and that its foot pads were too narrow and made it susceptible to falling. None of these claims were ever substantiated, however, but the damage was already done, and as a result, the BlackJack fell quickly into disfavor and only spent a few years in service to the Star League. It wasn't long before production was halted altogether, and those still in service were either given to Terran hegemony militia units or sold off to member states. When the Star League was eventually dissolved and the succession wars began, few shed a tear as the BlackJack production line on Cathil was destroyed in 2796. However, while all the successor states had BlackJacks, the majority ended up in the compelling Confederation and Federated Suns. And all but the Suns largely abandoned the design based on its reputation. Tinkering with the mech, Davian Tech soon discovered that the reputed claims about the BlackJack's flaws were without foundation, although it was still largely relegated to the mech militias. It wouldn't be until 3022 that the myth received its first mortal wound on Zahosa 7, where in battle for control of the planet, the infamous Time Mercer Ravanian attempted to test his horde tactic against the local Davian garrison. Led by New Avalon Institute of Science cadet Michael Ubodo, I swear I can speak. The garrison's BlackJacks took the brunt of the Kharitan attack, destroying wave after wave of light mechs attempting to overwhelm their position, and earned great honor for their successful defense. In the aftermath of the battle, other Davian units began to take renewed notice of the BlackJack, and even Hans Davian was sufficiently impressed with their performance that on Jahosa 7 to commission new variants to be built. For their part, the Confederation continued to treat the design with utter contempt, although the breakaway nation of the St. Ives Compact couldn't afford to be as discerning and adopted the BlackJack, experimenting with new variants of their own. These efforts culminated with the introduction of the BJ2, built by Davian Techs using newly discovered or newly recovered lost tech, which was first a refit kit before limited production restarted at General Motors' Cathhill plant in 3054. Finally, further variants would continue to be produced by both St. Ives and the Federated Sons, and eventually a new Omni-Mech version of the BlackJack was completed in 3058. As for weapons and equipment, the BlackJack carries a 40mm Whirlwind AC-2 in either arm for long-range direct fire support. While these autocannons provide excellent reach and were sufficient for combating mostly non-mech insurgents, they lacked the firepower to deal with well-armored targets. Both weapons are fed by a single ton of ammo located within the center torso. For close combat, the BlackJack has 4 Intech medium lasers, one in each arm, and both the left and the right sides of the torso. These lasers, when combined with its maneuverability, make the mech very dangerous, and an entire lance or company of BlackJacks can lay down impressive firepower. As for its equipment, 2 white-worn jet feet jump jets in either leg give the BlackJack a jumping distance of 120 meters. These were added late in the design's development as being compensation for using the General Motors 180 Fusion engine, which was smaller than the original. Finally, 8.5 tons of armor protect the BlackJack while 11 single heat sinks keep it cool during fights. As for my personal feelings on the BlackJack, ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of funny. The BlackJack is actually one of those mechs that, in my initial playthroughs of like MechWarrior 3 and MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries, it's not really one that really came up very often. It's not really one that I really enjoyed very much. It wasn't until I started playing BattleTech, the tabletop simulator by Harebrained Schemes, that I really got a chance to see how great of a mech it was. One of my favorite things to do is actually to remove the ACs, the autocannons, and instead put in large lasers. Because of that, I have to really give it points for its ability to be modularly customized. There's not a ton of stuff you can do with it, but the things you can do with it are pretty damn amazing. So I would highly recommend that you check it out. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. This was a kind of a return to true form on our breakdowns and everything like that, so hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment down below telling me what your feelings on the BlackJack are. Do you think it's a piece of junk, or do you think it's a customizable contraption worthy of praise? Let me know down below. Also, if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. Also, ring the bell icon so that you never miss out whenever our episodes go live. Thank you so much. Anyway, folks, I'm Michael Shockman. I've been your host and commentator. Stay tuned for next week when we cover the 50-ton weight bracket of the medium mechs and go on from there. And remember, as always, guys, no guts, no galaxy. Later, everybody.